Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nakiato here. If you don't know who I am, I do a lot of videos for Firefall, guides, tips, etc., etc. If you are interested in any of that, by all means, my YouTube channel is /D3ADZOMBI3, or simply click on the link in the description below.
Good morning, YouTube. Welcome to another MMO Anthropology interview. I'm your host, Amarist, of course, and I'm here in Firefall with Nakiato.
Hello, everyone.
So, generally, I like to start out any conversation or interview asking, so why Firefall? Why would you choose Firefall to, do an interview in and have, as a virtual world?
Well, Firefall is a very interesting game for me. I've been playing it for going on 2 years now. The first time I was introduced to it was I saw some gameplay video that they had at PAX that year, and I thought it was fantastic, even just in that conceptual design that they showed. And because of that, I wound up, signing up on forums, something I don't normally do, and I waited until I got that key for this game.
Was there anything about Firefall that initially caught your interest that then brought you into it?
Everything pulled me into Firefall. I'm a huge MMO player. I've played a lot of MMOs. I've played WoW, I've played Vanguard, etc. You name it, I've probably played it. And one of the reasons why Firefall dragged me in so easily was I was playing a lot of first-person shooters at the time, and mixing a first-person shooter with a MMO was something that wasn't really done. In fact, it's still not really done all that well now. And because of that, and because of how it looks so polished and so well, I had to play it. And then when I did, I got hooked.
So, you kind of already answered portions of the next question that I was going to have, which is, what kind of MMO games do you play on a regular basis?
Well, on a regular basis is kind of a hard answer. Oh, damn it, let me... It's kind of hard to answer that question, because on a regular basis, I don't normally play games as much as I used to. Because I do things like YouTube, I have, work, I have, a son to take care of and all of that, I have to pick and choose with my games now. But back when I used to have a ton of free time, I played legitimately everything under the sun.
You did mention playing World of Warcraft and other things as well. When you entered into Firefall, how did the experience in this game differ from, say, World of Warcraft or other RPGs?
Okay, so one of the things that made this game very different from any MMO that I've played is you aren't stuck to the basic, take this quest, go here, do this. You're given this big sandbox type world, and, you're let off your leash. You're told, this is what you can do, now go do it, have fun. And to have that in an MMO game where you can play with anybody, especially a free-to-play game where you can play with literally anybody, is fantastic.
One of the things that a lot of people are first going to notice about a game like Firefall is not just the sandbox effect, but the fact that the developers designed it to be easily traversable. And I'm going to show off a little bit of that here. The fact that characters have jump jets, in their feet or their back or whatever, which means that I can bound all over the landscape, and which means that you can get into places you otherwise wouldn't expect. And here I'll pull up a map. And one of the things that Nakiato just talked about was the events that pop up around the map that you can participate in. But I'm really interested in, from Nakiato, is how does the thumping change the user experience, change your experience in particular, for resource grinding. I've done a previous video on this for anyone who doesn't know what thumping is, but Nakiato, I'd like your your personal opinion and thoughts on how that changes your experience.
So thumping is an interesting.
It cut you off there.
Damn it, son of a. I think my mouse is dying. That's why.
Ah, okay.
So thumping is a very interesting mechanic. In other games, like WoW, like we've mentioned, you have to go and collect resources. And by collecting resources, the only thing that you really do is take a pickaxe and then you hit this node until it's gone and then repeat process for hours. And it is so mind-numbingly boring. One of the nice parts about Firefall is that you're able to just take your thumper that you made, go into the world, pick pretty much anywhere, and throw down this thumper that is going to collect resources for you, but in turn it becomes kind of like a horde mode. You have to defend it, otherwise you're going to have it destroyed and you have to go make another one. So it's kind of like a risk versus reward kind of thing.
Oh, for anyone who hasn't seen that video yet, what's amusing is that right behind us is a sort of a weird holographic representation of what a thumper is. It's basically supposed to be kind of a mining device that falls from the sky and then sifts through, I think, rock and soil in order to pull out particular elements, and that's the resource-driven part. And as Nakiato said, when it happens, monsters come and try to destroy it, and you have to fight them off. But one of the things that I really am intrigued by was, one, this is an event triggered by players, and two, there's a reward system. Even if it's not your thumper, if you come and you help someone protect one, you get some resources yourself. So I'm wondering, Nakiato, how often have you met new people because you ran out and pulled down a thumper, or because you ran up on theirs to help them protect it?
Oh, since I started playing this game, like anybody can join in on these events. It's not restricted. And when you're running along and you see someone just thumping, the first instinct that you have is, well, I might as well help them. I don't have anything else to do right now because it's on the way to my next place. So you do that. And then in turn, a lot of the time you wind up making friends.
Is it your experience that a lot of people stop and help and then try to actually interact socially, or is there also a portion of the player base who just kind of pass by and then rush off without saying anything?
So that's one thing that's changed over time. Back when I first started playing, it was very much everybody stopped. Everybody would participate in these. But now over time, we have so many people joining it now since open beta started that you have all of these different mindsets playing this social game. And you will eventually get people that just aren't interested in it and are focused on what they want to do. But for the majority, most people that are social people will stop. I would probably have to say, if I were to give out a percentage, I'd say a good 30-40% of people actually stop. And quite a few people pass by you while you're doing these events.
So I'm wondering, are you part of an army, which I believe is the guild facsimile in this game? Do you have one that you play with regularly?
I used to. I don't anymore because for one, like I mentioned, I hardly have time to
Right.
participate in a lot of events that these armies want you to do. But then also the other reason why is because since I am known in the community, to join a specific army might be a little hard just because I need to think about how to say that properly.
Because you bring your celebrity with you?
Yeah, it's kind of that. It's so back when I first started playing, so I used to be part of our army. And armies are fun. Armies are a lot of fun to play with other players, and then also it brings in that social aspect, like jumping onto TeamSpeak and whatnot. But like I mentioned earlier, I don't have the time to participate in all of that anymore. And then also one of the hard parts too is since I am well known in the community, picking a specific army to join with and say, "Hey, I'm a part of these guys," is kind of a slap into the face of some people. So I like to stay kind of neutral in that aspect. I will join anybody that wants me to let. Uh, I will join anybody that wants me to participate in whatever,
Hmm.
but I don't want to have that name stuck to my. Or, but I don't want to have that name stuck to my character.
Hmm. So, are there several large armies in Firefall that actually compete with each other, or like what's the makeup of the guilding scene that you've seen?
Oh man, there are a ton of armies in this game, and they're usually pretty big armies. I mean, you've got AOD, you've got I can't think of any of the names right now.
It's
Uh, you've got AOD, you've got um, RAR, you've got Firefall fans. It's just too many armies, too many people to try and keep up with, you know?
Well, I'm also wondering. I wanted to ask you what your favorite activity in Firefall was, but I think that a more appropriate question would be with your limited time. When you come into Firefall, what's your usual motivation? What do you then go on to do when you actually have time to come in and play?
That's a funny question. Um, so it used to be PvP.
Hmm.
PvP was like the main reason why I would log in anytime I had any free time and play. But since that was removed, the only thing I really do when I have time to jump on is and play is uh maybe run with a friend or two or do an instance. I don't really take time to thump all that much because I've had resources wiped on multiple
Hmm.
occasions, and after you've been through a couple of those, and you've had hundreds of thousands of resources wiped, you're just like, I don't know.
It kind of takes away the reward of actually digging up a bunch of resources if they can fall out from under you suddenly.
Exactly. They have said that they're not going to be wiping anymore, but in the same token, I will believe that and I will continue to collect resources when the game is finally out of beta.
Yes, one of the risks of it being in a beta. Okay, so I'm running out. I'm running up on the edge of the clock here for the interview. So I figured that I'd move on to the last question that I always ask everyone, which is, what is the most memorable event that you have participated in, or has you've most memorable experience is probably a better word in an MMO that you've participated in?
Does that have to be Firefall
Nope.
specific or any game?
No, any game at all.
Well, if we're talking about any game specifically, the most memorable events that I've ever done are probably raids in WoW,
Hmm.
just because that was, I don't know, that was the height of my gaming experience when I was younger. There was nothing like joining 30.
That cut you off there.
Oh, son of a bitch. All right, let's do it again. Ah. Well, so if we're talking about any game, so if we're talking about any game and it doesn't have to be specific, it would probably be WoW, just because when I quit playing WoW, one of the main things that I used to like to do was I used to raid, and there's nothing like running around with 39 other people and clearing these gigantic instances that take hours to do. It's a lot of fun, and a lot of blooper type things tend to happen, like wiping and everybody yelling at each other and stuff like that. It's just plain old fun.
So,
Uh,
so you found the part of the experience where you were interacting with a large team, and especially if I World of Warcraft, if I recall correctly, when it comes to raiding, also has a little bit of finesse in some cases, where at least most of the people need to be in the right places.
oh yeah, specifically in WoW, if you are out of place at all, That means you're not going to get heals. That means you're not going to be able to steal the buffs off of specific mobs that you need to do. That means you're going to take damage off of a boss that only goes in a specific direction. Placement is key in that game. Well, mostly because there's not really a lot that they can do gameplay-wise, so placement is one of the main things that they like to focus on. One thing that people always make fun of is don't stand in the purple shit.
Yes.
You know? And that's very much true in that game. Don't stand in stuff on the floor. Just don't do it.
So, as like a follow-up to that, and the final question that I'll have for you is, have you taken anybody that you played with in World of Warcraft into other games since leaving that experience behind?
I have tried. I always have a couple of friends that I always bring with me to no matter what game I play, whether that be on PC, other MMOs, or even on my PlayStation. I'm a social person in general. Like, I will bring anyone with me.
Thank you. Yep.
But when it comes to bringing people specifically from WoW back in, my heyday of playing games, it's just hard to drag people away from that game because they always gravitate back towards it.
Yes.
So anybody that I have tried to bring with me has either, abandoned me or I just don't really talk to all that much anymore. So,
well, excellent. I can totally see that. Well, this is the end of the time that I've got. Thank you so much for your time, Nakiato, and coming along to talk to us about Firefall.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It was interesting being interviewed in-game.
Excellent. And for everyone watching, I have been your host, Amherst, and this has been yet another MMO Anthropology interview. For everyone watching, I'll see you in the next one. Good night and good dreams.
Later, guys.
Do you play online games? Do you have Skype? Then we'd love to interview you on Massive Online Anthropology. Join the fascinating thousands who've spoken about their online gaming experience and be the envy of all your friends. Or at least get the MMO Anthropology Geek Merit Badge. Sorry, no t-shirt. See you then!